Inside PressBox is presented by Friedmont Mortgage. Don't make a 30-year mistake by choosing the wrong lender. Go to Friedmont.com now for all of your mortgage needs. And welcome to Inside PressBox. This week we have a super show, or maybe in the parlance of the NFL, a big show. But as the Baltimore Ravens move to just a week away from their date with destiny in a matchup with the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl 47, we'll talk to the man who will talk to the men and women in the PressBox next Sunday at the Superdome in New Orleans. That's Gary Stein. Gary happens to be the voice of the PA within the PressBox at the big game every year, and he'll join us to talk about that daunting task and the game itself. And last Saturday, just as the joy was about to be unleashed for Oriole fans at FanFest, they were hit with the news that the greatest skipper in the club's history, the Earl of Baltimore, had passed away on his team's cruise. Dave Lashley and I talked to some fans who just couldn't be too sad when remembering old number 4. But first, who better to talk about this golden age of Baltimore sports than the man who has run both the Babe Ruth Museum and Sports Legends Museum for the better part of 30 years, and that would be my friend Mike Gibbons. Michael, how are you? It's always a pleasure to see you. And I said in the opening, I wrote a piece on PressBoxOnline.com the other day that, you know, people my age now look back as like 69, 70, 71, when the Colts were still great, Orioles were great, the Bullets were great, as a time that might be the golden era of Baltimore sports. Are we possibly on the precipice of an era that we may look back on 20 or 30 years from now and say, boy, that 2011, 12, 13, and 14 was some great times?
Well, it certainly is starting to shape up that way, isn't it? Now, the Ravens obviously got a jump on the Orioles. They've been doing it for 5 consecutive years. They're the winningest team in the NFL over that stretch of time. But now you've got this baseball team that has crawled back and gotten competitive again, and they look so good and brought back the spirit to the community like a pennant race, only a pennant race can do so. And to me, things look pretty bright for the Orioles going forward.
Best part of that news was the news last week that Buck Showalter extended to 2018 and Dan Duquette gets an extension to 2018. Stability, something the fans have yearned for. We know that Buck and Dan are good baseball people. Let's keep them in place and let them do their job.
Well, I think so. I mean, again, the Ravens have demonstrated that if you start with good stuff up at the top, that it trickles down and you have a great organization. Now the Orioles seem to have a really good top management in place, and so I think it bodes well for the future, and certainly the lineup that they're going to bring to the table this year is stocked. They are loaded.
Speaking of golden era of Baltimore sports, 2 legendary figures, Art Modell and Earl Weaver, pass away, one at the beginning of the football season, one just before we're to go to spring training. They were both friends of the museum and benefactors of yours, helped out in a lot of different ways. Could you talk a little bit about your thoughts about Art Modell and Earl Weaver?
Well, Modell, certainly a guy who, as we all know, is a pioneer of the NFL, Monday Night Football, and just the overall television contracts that make the NFL so lucrative.
Hopefully by the time this show is airing, he'll have been put into the Hall of Fame, well, or selected to be put in. Yeah,
we're gonna keep our fingers crossed that Art is going to make it, because, you know, unfortunately he passed away. I think there's the people who were blocking him were just doing it for that reason.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
So it's human nature. It's terrible stuff.
Earl Weaver.
Earl Weaver. I got to know Earl pretty well over the 30 years that I've been hanging around with the museum, and you know, he was a unique character. We'll have to say that. But listen, the guy is the winningest modern manager in baseball history. I mean, you know, for the last 50, 60 years, nobody beats Earl. Not Casey Stengel, not Walter Alston, not any of these guys. So you know, his legacy here in Baltimore is certainly profound.
Hey, one bit of Baltimore history you have here, and it's going to be hard to show it. I'm showing it right now. I'm going to show it over here. Maybe we can zoom in. But it's a Baltimore Ravens hat, a logo that I've never really seen before.
Right.
Okay. And could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, this hat, what we like to do in the world of sports heritage museums is we take an artifact, we take something like this, and we're going to use it to tell a story, to help to tell a story. This story takes us back to the first day that Ray Lewis became a Baltimore Raven, along with Jonathan
Ogden. 1996.
96. And it was before they had their team colors. It was before they had the team logo. So the NFL makes a hat Baltimore Ravens, kind of like a generic thing,
hat, right?
And they put it on Ogden's head and Ray's head, and they're the first-round draft picks. Welcome to the NFL. Shake your hands.
And it's signed right here. You can't see it anymore. It's faded. I mean, you can see it if you're holding it, but it says Jonathan Ogden.
Yeah, this one's got his Ogden's signature on it, but you know, it takes us back to that moment. Ray's first moment, John's first moment as Baltimore Raven here. Now we're approaching the end, the last moment of Ray's affiliation with the Ravens.
Tell us about February 8th. We got about a minute. Babe's birthday bash on February the 8th, Friday night.
Yeah, well, you'll be there, I'll be there, we'll all be there.
Will there be other people than you and I?
Probably just us to bash.
Now, there'll be a couple hundred, 250 people, 300 people.
Probably more than that. Yeah. But every year we celebrate Babe Ruth's birthday. We're doing it. He's 118 years old, arguably, easily the greatest, most celebrated athlete of all time. We do a birthday bash Friday, February 8th at Sports Legends Museum. $50, all you can eat and drink. And, you know, every year we bring a lot of VIPs, a lot of sports celebrities in, and we honor one person every year with a Community Services Award. This year, O.J. Brigance, they'll be coming right off of the Super Bowl victory, which we all think is going to happen.
Knock on wood.
O.J. is this year's honoree, but a lot of really great sports personalities will be there. We're going to be talking a lot of Orioles baseball that night, a little bit about the Ravens, a little bit about the Terps. So come on down and call the museum and get some information.
Thank you for bringing that artifact in of Baltimore sports history. Mike Gibbons, Executive Director of Babe Ruth Birthplace and the Sports Legends Museum. When Inside PressBox returns, I'll be joined by 105.7 The Fans, Gary Stein, so don't go away. Inside PressBox is presented by Friedmont Mortgage. Don't make a 30-year mistake by choosing the wrong lender. Go to Friedmont.com now for all of your mortgage needs.